My name is Derek Skiba, and you're watching Faces of Death.
They don't do intros.
Oh my gosh, Marty.
Oh. Forgot my keys on the bus. Oh! Well. Yeah, that kind of sucked.
VULCANIZADORA. This is a weird one. Right away, I need to warn all of you before you go see it that this is not a normal kind of film. It is about 90 minutes or so, but this is not going to be for everyone, and it can be extremely difficult for people to get through. Not just because of the extremely dark subject matter, but also because of how the pacing goes, how the film is shot, and the overall look of the piece. Seriously. I'm not kidding. The first 30 minutes of this film are a slog. It is an incredibly difficult beginning to watch and sit through, just because of how slow and nonsensical it is. Thankfully, it does get much, much better after those 30 minutes, but they are required. Just a heads up. Also, I think that while this is one of the darkest films I've seen in a long time, it's probably also the best film I've seen so far this year, and it's completely independent. Okay. I actually watched this one a couple of weeks ago, but it's been stuck in my head ever since, and I've wanted to talk about it for ages, but everyone that I try to talk to about it are either turned off once they hear how dark it is, or are then intrigued and want to watch it themselves, which makes it really difficult for me to talk about. But hey, I like that more people are interested, so that's something. It still makes it quite the predicament for me, and it's even more difficult to review without spoilers, but I'll give it my best, so here we go. Did any of that intrigue you guys yet? Are you all on board? Well, let me explain the movie a little bit more then. VULCANIZADORA is not a horror movie. I know it's kind of labeled as one, and being on this channel, it's more than likely going to be a horror movie, but no, this one is not. This film is not even supernatural. It is firmly planted in reality, which you could argue makes it even darker, but still. Despite the content being as dark as I'm promising, just take my word for it, this film is labeled a black buddy comedy, and that is certainly the case. And while it does have some moments of humor sprinkled throughout it, it is very dry, and the tone is more set to reveling in the irony of certain situations, while its characters mess around and interact with each other and the world around them. But hey, I'm getting ahead of myself, as usual. What is this movie even about? Well, this is where it gets difficult. I know. Again, it gets difficult again. There is a twist halfway through the film that gives context to the slow start and sets things up for the latter half of the movie. But if I tell you the twist, it spoils a good chunk of the film. So where do I go from here? I'll give you guys a basic but lacking plot summary here. So here we go. VULCANIZADORA follows two loser friends on a hike through the woods. They have a destination in mind and a goal to achieve, but when they finally arrive, they have to deal with the legal and emotional repercussions of their quest. Was that vague enough for you guys? I dare not say more because of spoilers. I probably should also include a content warning here as well, but I feel like that would also spoil things, so I'll hold off. I'll just say that this film is dark. It isn't gory or anything, just the content that they're discussing, especially in a realistic scenario, can be very disturbing. You would never get that from the start of this film, though. You would never in a million years imagine that's what's going on. For the first 30 minutes of this movie, the pace is agonizingly slow. Watching these two dweebs trudge through the woods aimlessly, set off fireworks, talk about music, and antagonize each other. Ugh, it's just so long of that. You get the sense that these two are friends, but unequally, and it's so hard to care about these two at the start of this movie. Seriously, I am repeating it a lot because I need to temper expectations here. I want you to see this movie. I want people to see this movie. I implore you to see this movie. If you are watching this review, go watch this movie. You just need to understand just how difficult it is to get through the start. I wanted to turn it off after 10-15 minutes. I was so annoyed, but it gets so much better. Trust me, you gotta stick through it. Like I said, I almost turned it off because I was having just such a hard time paying attention to this inane banter that these two characters were going on about. It feels stupid. It feels like a waste of time. 30 minutes will feel like the full 90. Unfortunately, though, they are required for the twist. And now that I'm thinking back about it, I can actually appreciate that. I think it's very interesting. These 30 minutes of boredom and agony are set up to mess with your expectations. They exist for a reason to slowly piece together why these two dinguses are wandering through the woods and important details about their characters. Let's see, what can I talk about without spoilers? One, you find out very early on, apparently has an arson conviction, which might tie into the title, and the other has an issue with money. Little details like these slowly combine with others over the course of these 30 minutes to start, of otherwise nothing else, to give you a better idea of just who these two losers are and what their ultimate goal is on their trip. The second half of the film changes drastically from this. It becomes a lot more focused, more traditionally shot, and shifts its humor to a more ironic-based appeal than just watching these two goofballs wander around. That's all well and good, but all of that wouldn't hit nearly as hard without that beginning 30 minutes to start. There's a method to the madness, you just have to sit through it. It's tough, I know, but it's worth it. Personally, I think it's a really cool bit of artsy storytelling. A lot of other things don't add up, like the title of the movie, VULCANIZADORA. It's a Spanish word for vulcanizer, and a vulcanizer is just someone who vulcanizes rubber tires, which is fixing tires with a heat gun. No idea why it's in Spanish. The film is in English. The title is never said anywhere in the movie, so I feel like maybe it ties into the one character's arson, but it's artsy to be artsy, and it's a cool metal title because the character's like metal, I guess. I don't know. We'd have to ask the director, which I guess I should explain where this movie came from. Maybe that'll help give a bit more context to everything. VULCANIZADORA comes to us from writer-director Joel Potrakis, who also just so happens to play the second lead in this film, Derek. And I'll get into the acting in a moment, but let me talk about how this film was made to start us off. VULCANIZADORA is Potrakis' 5th film. He's referred to as an independent filmmaking darling. He's been prominent since 2012 and is even sometimes called indie cinema's patron saint of misfits, just due to his strange shooting style. I feel like VULCANIZADORA is a great example of his particular style, which is guerrilla in its execution. This is a no-budget film shot without permits on a limited scale in public areas utilizing home recording cameras. It gives a very DIY type of flair, and it feels like the kind of movie that anyone could make if they had the dedicated actors and helpers on board. It certainly helps that Potrakis has been doing this for so long. This type of style gives VULCANIZADORA especially a gritty, realistic type of air that fits its characters to a T. If this was shot normally, I think it would still be effective, but I think the guerrilla style really helps sell what these characters are going through and tie it down to a more realistic sense. I also think this style helps the film feel more dark and devastating. This isn't a big budget production, and the lack of polish is used intentionally to portray these flawed characters in a more fitting light. I'd say it's a little similar to maybe I Saw the TV Glows aesthetics, where that film used grainy textures, bisexual lighting, and characters facing the camera while monologuing. That was artsy to be artsy. This film instead takes its characters and films them from the side slightly, getting their genuine reactions to things going on, and it feels all the more realistic for it. Where I Saw the TV Glow is meant to be dreamlike, this is realism. Of course, that also has something to do with the acting. I told you I was going to get into it. The true star of the film here is Marty, played by Joshua Burge. Few people know who Joshua Burge is. I certainly was not one of those people. His only big movie that I can see was a role in 2015's The Revenant, which I didn't watch, the one with Leo fighting a bear. And frankly, after seeing this movie, it is criminal that he isn't more recognized. I have never heard of him before this movie, and he knocks it out of the park. Marty is such an interesting and conflicted character that seems simple on the surface, but underneath is richly complicated and has clear wants and goals and frustrations without ever really vocalizing any of them. There's a lot going on that he just gives off through his facial acting. He has this air about him like a druggie or any kind of redneck loser that you might ignore on the street that you try not to make eye contact with. And doing something like that while also making the audience want to follow and root for him is tough. It's ridiculously tough. And yet somehow Burge handles it effortlessly. He kind of reminds me a little bit of characters from, say, a Kevin Smith movie, maybe. I think it's really damn cool. He's actually been in most of Potrakis' movies, and I think it's worth mentioning that the film Buzzard from 2014 features him as a character with the exact same name. I haven't seen that film yet, so I'm not sure if it's intended that he is the same character or not. Either way, I think he does a phenomenal job here, and I'm really excited to see him in more stuff. I'm definitely going to check out the other movies he's in. Secondly, we have, well, I already mentioned it, but Joel Potrakis as the second loser on the hike named Derek. And he definitely plays the character more humorously than Marty. Derek is a bumbling bozo who is a bit too childlike for his own good, even though he's balding. He's fun later on in the movie, but at the start he comes off as extremely annoying and just stupid. He's just not that interesting to start. But then the twist happens and you realize what's going on, and he becomes a completely different character with a whole host of new emotions and things to explore, and his actions are suddenly thrust into the light and you get a new idea of why he was doing everything. I really appreciate that. I think it was incredibly smartly handled. Really like that. It's also just fun to see how he interacts with Marty and how we as the audience have to piece together their really strange relationship and try to understand how these two know each other. It's an interesting puzzle to have. That is what this film feels like, actually, a puzzle. There's a lot of piecing things together slowly as the movie is going on, figuring out Marty and Derek's relationship, their past, why they have this trip planned, and all of the above. I do think the movie isn't perfect, though. Like I said, that opening is absolutely horrid. I understand that's by design, and I appreciate that design, but that doesn't mean that it's fun. It is difficult and slow and terrible to sit through. I can appreciate it for the art of it later on, but that initial run is exhausting. And I can see it turning off general audiences or someone who doesn't know what this movie is and just flipped it on. So I don't know. All I can say is you gotta sit through it. That's all I can say. This is an art house film. It is artsy and slow and a character study, like these kinds of films usually are. Character studies are a lot of fun, and there's definitely something to love about all of that. But at the same time, I can also recognize that that isn't everyone's cup of tea, and those seeking something quick and fun are just not going to enjoy this film. This is a movie that requires patience, attention, forgiveness, and determination. It is uncomfortable and disturbing, boring and dull, but also really introspective and interesting and creatively dense, all packaged together in this weird delivery. It's so difficult to explain because it's all of these things wrapped up into one. And that's how you know that it's a good think piece. I can think and talk about this movie for ages if you let me. So I should probably cut myself off short. It is very, very rare to find movies like these, and that really makes them special. And while it isn't for everyone, and probably has a lot of moments that are uncomfy and strange and off-putting, whether by design or not, if you stick with it, you'll have a very interesting, strange, and unique journey through a realistic nightmare. Just deep breaths, stick with it. Definitely give it a watch if you're even the least bit interested. This is how independent movies grow. It deserves a watch. Check it out. Just push through that first 30 minutes. Trust me. So ultimately, VULCANIZADORA gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for another one. Yeah, I think I'm just adjusting my upload schedule for a little bit, so expect these on the weekends now. But yeah, no, this one, I really wasn't going to review it after I'd seen it. I was just like, it was interesting. But then I just found myself thinking about it more and realizing it had such an interesting history behind it, and doing some research on Potricus and all that incredibly strange and interesting background, and then thinking about just how it fit together so well for the story it's trying to tell. And a lot of people don't check out independent movies, but independent movies usually have a ton of creativity behind them, and this is one that really benefited from not having a huge big budget behind it. I know a lot of other movies kind of fail because of the budget, but this one being shot so frugally and with only 2 main actors, one of them is the director, it just works so well. It's so strange. I want to check out Potricus's other work. I've only seen this one so far, but I know where to see the rest. It's all on Shudder, so I'm definitely going to check them out. Maybe I'll review them, maybe I won't. But still, I highly recommend checking this one out if you can. Definitely go find it. Like I said, they are on Shudder. And that's all I got. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a video. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think? Did you see this movie? Did you make it through the opening? Let me know. And after that, yeah, that's it. Have a great day, and if you're not, have a better one. See ya.
I'm just a ghost in your stereo. The fading memory of a shipwreck in the undertow. You're just a lost song on your own. And I'm just a ghost in your stereo.